What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon466cards, and today we're going to talk about the business strategy behind collectors buying SGC earlier this year. On your screen, you see the announcement on the SGC website announcing this purchase by collectors, and it says right here that President Peter Steinberg to continue running SGC day-to-day as an independently operated authentication and grading business. So, according to the announcement that was put out on the website, SGC is going to run independently. It will not be folded under PSA. It's going to operate separately under the collector's umbrella. That made a lot of sense to me. But at the time of this announcement, there are a few people out there who said that, no, this is just for the short term, but eventually they're going to fold SGC so that they could kill their competition. And that didn't make sense to me at the time, and it continues to not make sense to me, as you will see from the data that I'm about to show you, which is gem rate numbers. Shout out to Ryan at gem rate numbers for sports cards. That, what you see on the left here, that's 2023 total sports cards graded. On the right here is the first half of 2024 total number of sports cards graded. If you take a look at the total market share, the numbers on the left show PSA with 77%, SGC with 12%. I get to these numbers by assuming 4% of other, quote unquote, other grading companies. So that's your tags, your GMAs, your ISAs, those type of companies, right? Which is roughly the size of Beckett. If you look at the first half of 2024, those numbers have increased for PSA and SGC, while Beckett and CGC have gone down. And I've also assumed a 1% decrease in the others as well. So this shows the exact opposite of collectors buying SGC to kill the brand. Market share has actually gone up 2%. PSA, it's gone up 1%. So they've gone from 89% total here between PSA and SGC in 2023 to 92% in 2024, or in the first 6 months of 2024. And that, so like in my mind, that makes sense. And I believe that was the strategy all along. And it's what I believed when they first bought SGC. They bought SGC not to kill the brand, but to basically provide a buffer between other companies and PSA. Think of it like a castle surrounded by a moat. SGC is the moat. PSA is the castle. They're looking to protect the castle at all costs. And buying SGC creates a layer of protection around PSA. And I believe that was the purpose of collectors buying SGC. It wasn't to kill off SGC. It was to build up SGC so that you have two strong brands. Obviously, PSA much stronger than SGC, but two strong brands so that there cannot be a third brand to even come close to this. And if you look at the numbers a different way, before it was 89% between PSA and SGC. Now it's 92%. You can't even create a third option based off of those numbers because there's so little market share left. One year here in 2023, 89%. That means that there's still 11% remaining between Beckett, CGC, and other. Now you're at 92%. And there's only 8% left between Beckett, CGC, and other. And so even if you combine all those cards together, that's that's barely half of what SGC is. So there's not enough cards left out there to grade because PSA and SGC have sucked out all the oxygen in the room. And so as a result, this is how you solidify these two brands as the main brands in the sports card space. You've completely killed off any threat to even number two by building up number two. And as a result, you will never have a threat to number one. Another way to think about this is the hobby is not going to take an emerging company seriously when it can't even challenge PSA's little brother, which is SGC. You guys aren't even close to SGC, and SGC isn't even close to PSA. As a result, PSA will have a monopoly dominating this space for the very long term, for the very, very foreseeable future. And that was the reason behind buying SGC. It was to protect the PSA brand by leaving very little else out in the marketplace, and by building up such a strong brand in SGC that there are no other cards left to grade. And as a result, number 2 is a strong brand, number 1 is an even stronger brand, and there is no more cards left for a number 3. And that's what I believe to be the reason why collectors bought SGC. And I think it's a brilliant, brilliant strategy. Shout out to Nat Turner for thinking of it like that, which I believe is what he was thinking. Maybe someone will ask him in an interview at some point in the future. But that's my thoughts on why collectors bought SGC. It's not to kill the brand. It's actually to build up the brand, to protect the PSA brand, which is obviously the moneymaker. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as to whether or not this makes sense to you in terms of the business strategy behind buying SGC. As always, looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.